Today we're going to look at a Trek Ticket S, active brake pivots, and figure out what the hell a minnow link is. Since it's not in the original packaging, we're just going to go ahead and get this unwrapped and save you the time of watching that happen. Now that I've got this unwrapped, I can tell you that this thing is amazing looking up close. Before we go any farther, I want to give a thanks out to the Halahan Crew again for sending this over so I can get a look at it before they assemble their little project they have going. And let's get some close-up shots and let's get some details about exactly what makes this special. Okay, the Trek Ticket S frame. What exactly are we dealing with? Well, the whole thing that I have is gloss black, and hopefully it'll come across on the camera. This has a flat textured black decal design over top, and that is painted. That is not a decal, so that's a nice touch. That should be a lot more durable to just stay in looking nice. It's not going to rub off just by regular riding. Unless you hit something, wreck, chip the paint. But it's a nice touch. It looks really cool. Again, hopefully that shows up. Okay, starting at the front of the frame, we've got a tapered head tube. Already has the head cups pressed in. The whole main frame and everything uses Trek's Alpha Platinum tubing. This is the same tube set that's used on the Remedies and the Sessions. So this is their toughest tube set. Pretty light, but works very well. Coming down the frame, we have the Fox Float shock. This has a special tune that works just with this frame. So if you need to service the shock or you're going to change it out, make sure you're getting a shock that is tuned to work with the kinematics of this frame. If not, off-the-shelf shocks usually aren't going to hold up on a slopestyle bike. The tunes are just going to be too soft and they're never going to give that firm feel, except in the rebound where they probably don't have enough and they will pogo you right off the back because they'll never be strong enough. Alright, we can also see that the shock is a floating design. It is not rigid mounted down to the frame. You can see the top rocker link and the whole bottom swing arm is floating. The shock does not mount to the frame at all, just to the control links, and that's supposed to help with some compliance and feedback. I'll find out maybe once we get to ride this bike. Can't tell you right now. This is a press fit bottom bracket frame, so make sure that when you're ordering your parts that you get the right crank set with the right bottom bracket to fit with this frame. Don't just try to put a set of BMX cranks on here. They're not going to fit. There's no screw-ins. There are adapters that you could get that could make certain cranks that weren't originally intended for a mountain bike work, but it's going to take some extra parts. Okay, right here, this is what they talk about. This is the minnow link. This is the geometry adjustable link. Pretty much we're gonna dive in closer and get an up close look and take it apart so you can really see it. But you can unbolt this, flip the chip here on the link, and it changes the head angle about 1 degree, maybe only half a degree. I'll have to double check again, and lowers the bottom bracket a little bit. You know, who's going to use that is your slopestyle or your racers. That way you can choose the geometry that you need. If you have a tighter course, you might use the little steeper head angle. If you got a fast race course, you're doing the dual slalom or the speed and style, you might slack it out a little bit so you can do the high speed, or just personal preference. Maybe you're just using this as a fun play bike and it's just nice to have the options. Alright, going in the back here, this is the active brake pivot link, and we're going to get a better close-up of this too. Most bikes, the pivot is either located on the chainstay or on the seat stay, their active brake pivot is everything rotates around the axle, which isolates the brake forces and supposed to give a lot more compliant ride. Again, we're going to dive into that one in a little bit. So that's just a front to back of the Trek Ticket S, which, by the way, Ticket S. We know the Ticket is their hardtail dirt jumper. What do you think the S stands for? Is it suspended, because it's a rear suspension model? Is it S for slopestyle? Or is it S for squishy? Comment below, what do you think? Trek Ticket S, suspended, slopestyle, or squishy? Alright, let's not waste any more time with conversations like that, and I'm sure you're sick of looking at me. Let's get an up close and personal on exactly what the Manitou link is. Okay, here we are. We're going to do an up close look at the Manitou link. The Manitou link is located on the back of the top rocker. And you can see right here, it says to tighten, to turn counterclockwise. This is very important that you don't mess this up. This is not traditional righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and that is because the bolts actually feed in from the back of the rocker link. So when you're trying to access it with a tool from the outside of the frame, everything is backwards. Okay, you can see here, if we get up close, that this fitting has an oval shape to it, and that is what is special about the Manitou link. If we go ahead, loosen this up, alright, have a nice aluminum bolt. Again, do not over torque these. They have torque measurements written on there. These are aluminum. You can strip and damage these extremely easy if you get gorilla fisted with it. If you don't know what gorilla fist is, well, you're probably a parts breaker. Okay, we take this link out, flip it over. We see it has nice angled edges to it, and that's so it fits in tight and stays in that link. And you can see, looking at the back, that it is an oval link with a hole drilled offset to it. And this is how you're able to change the geometry in the frame by either having it mounted forward or backwards in the frame. And as I mentioned earlier, I looked it up, this changes the head angle by 1/2 degree and can raise or lower the bottom bracket by 10 millimeters depending on the terrain you're going to be riding. Okay, we're going to get an up close look. We're going to see how the floating shock moves whenever the suspension's compressed. And we're also going to look at how the active brake pivot works. By keeping the brake on a different link and floating from the axle, what you get is no feedback and your suspension's able to be live and active when you're on or off the brakes. Not all suspensions designed can do that, especially if the brake is mounted on the same link as the main chainstay. So you can see as it's compressed, the shock is not statically attached to the main triangle of the frame. It is free to float in between the upper and lower links. And you can see the rear axle has its own independent track to move with in conjunction with the pivot on the chainstay and seat stay. So there you have it. The Trek Ticket S. 100mm travel frame, purpose-built fun machine. Build it up however you want, whether you need to throw some big tricks, you want to go as fast as you can, you just want to go play in the woods. 26-inch wheels, obviously, for those who aren't aware. Bikes like these are just a hell of a lot of fun. I suggest, if you can get on one, spend some time, whether it be this or any slopestyle bike, they're just a blast. So, you decide if this is right for you. I can't wait to see this one get built up with the parts we've already seen. You know, we're going to put the Manitou Circus Pro on here. We're going to put the Hayes brakes. We have some other goodies coming up that we're going to take a look at. And, you know, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.